Okay, you're going to kind of practice the same things yesterday. Now, I haven't looked at your assignment. I don't know if you need it, but judging by how the class was doing yesterday and with all these people gone, it's not, we're going to do this another day, okay? Just continue to do what worked for you yesterday. You'll be fine. I have to use this hideous orange pen because that pen right there is out of ink. So hopefully it's not writing so fat that you can read what I'm doing, okay? Remember, multiplication and division, dividing radicals, we think in terms of 3 steps, okay? Step 1, I like to put 2's there so I know what list I need to refer to, okay? Because automatically it's this list, the big list, if it's 2. So I make a cubed square root, and I just multiply the insides. 8 times 40 is 320. And then with the y's, the powers, we just add the exponents. 5 plus 2 is 7. Okay, then I kind of go off to the side here. I'm going to drop my radical with 2, okay? There's no outside number as of yet, okay? So then I go square root 320, and then the square root of y to the 7th. So 320, I look at this list just because it's a 2, and I start dividing because it's not here. And I know this is boring, okay? So 320 divided by 225. Nope. Just try not to fall asleep. It does get monotonous, repetitive, and somewhat annoying when you can't find it, like now. I've been working on the railroad. I don't know the rest of the lyrics to that song, but nope. Come on, man. 64. Cha-ching. Got it, finally. So I make 2 square roots. I go 64 and 5. So the square root of 64 equals 8. Okay, so we replace that with 8. Now remember, 8 goes out. The 8 now is outside. It's free of the radical. And the 5 is inside. Okay. Now as far as that y to the 7th, so it means... And I tried to be nice and not put like where it ends up like y to the 27th power. I know that one day when you first did it, there was like an 18th. And we group it, we put the root in pairs, okay? So there's a pair, that's one full y. There's another, that's a second full y. There's a third, that's a y. And this y here, he has to stay in, okay? So that's 3 full y's we got, so I put y to the 3rd out there, or you can put times y to the 3rd. You're usually supposed to put the letters after the number out there. And then inside you put y, okay? Then step 3, I don't need to do anything, okay? If there's 2 large numbers out here, you know, like if, let's say besides the 8, if there was like a 7 already, I would have to take 7 times 8, but there's not, so I have my answer right there. I'll just write it in. Okay, next one. 1 and a 2 and a 3. Okay, so we'll be making a square root and multiply the inside. So I take 8 times 3, 24. X, I have 5 plus 1, that's 6. And I drop my radical 2 because some of that's going to come out, hopefully. Some of it might be left in, so we have it set up. So I have the square root of 24 and the square root of y to the x to the 6. Okay, we're on the big list still. 24 is not here, so I think, okay, divide. So at least it's not a huge number like 320. 24 divided by 16, no go. Divide by 9, no dice. Divide by 4, money in the bank, 4 and 6. So square root of 4 becomes 2, and 2 comes out, 6 going in. Okay. Now with the variables, you got x times x times x times x times x times x. So I'm grouping them into 2's. X, x, x. So it's x to the 3rd. And we won't have any x's left. Okay. So it's x to the 3rd out here. And again, I don't need to do anything else because 2 is the only big number I have. So 2x to the 3rd with the radical 2 over 6. Okay, 1 and 2. 2 and 3. Okay, so I put my radical. It's a third degree. Remember, these little 3's mean it's a third. I take 5 times 25, that's a 25 there. Sorry about the bad writing. 125. And then I have y variables. 3 plus 4 gives me 7. Okay, but you got a 3 and a 2 outside, so you got to multiply 3 times 2 is 6, and that's outside the radical. So when I write my radical, the cubed root, I want to drop my 6 down with it. That felt good. Okay. So I got the radical 3, 125, and the rascally radical 3 over y to the 7th. Okay, now I got to go to a different list. I can't be on this because it's a third root. It's a cubed root. These are my cubed roots. So when I want to check, oh, it's here. Okay, it equals 5. So I don't need to do the divide. Okay, I just put equals 5. Okay, just copy what it says. Now remember, when that happens, when you look at your list, you're like boom and see 5. That goes outside every time. Okay. And then let's talk about the y to the 7th. So y times y times y times y times y times y times y. So a cubed root. Now we do a 3 at a time. So that's y. It's another y. And then there's this y here left. So I have y to the 2nd, because that means y times y. Y to the 2nd outside, okay? I would just try to fit it after the numbers, okay? And then that y left over stays inside. Now step 3, I actually have to do something because I have a 5 and a 6 out here. I need to do that multiplying operation, 5 times 6. That's 30, and then y to the 2nd. And then my root, it's a cubed root. Put that 3 in there, and it's a y. Okay, and she is done. Okay, make your fourth. You don't have any, you just take 27 times 6. You won't put a number in the front like you did on that one. Okay, I got 162. So drop your radical with a 4. You don't have a number to put here like you did with that 6. So I just got radical 4, 162. Okay. So fourth roots. Now you're on the 4 list. 162 is not here, so I have to divide. I have to do that annoying process, but shouldn't have to go far. Anything will work with 1, but see if there's bigger numbers. So 162 divided by 81. Bingo, I got 81 and 2. So the fourth root of 81 is 3. So 3's out, 2's in. And really there's nothing else to do, okay? Because it's not like I have a 5 and anything with the 3 that will multiply. And don't multiply 3 by 4. The 4 is what kind of radical you have. Okay, if you want to pause the video, you can go to the back, work on problems 1, 2, 3, and 4. Let me know if you have questions. Okay, example 5. Okay, example 5. So these are 2's. And division, just like multiplication, I think of it in terms of 3 steps. I make one radical, and this time I divide 500 by 5. That's 100. A lot of these are going to end up, some of these will end up pretty smooth. So I drop the radical 2, bring the radical 2 over 100 over here. It's 10, okay? So I just put 10 from the get-go. Remember, when that happens, that goes outside the radical. You're like, well, what do I put in it? Well, nothing, okay? Because we don't have any variables either. It's just 100, okay? So you don't put anything in there. So when you can't find anything to put in there, you get rid of it, and the answer is 10, okay? Because it's not like I had variables I had to account for either on that problem. Okay, remember these are 2's, so I make one square root. Okay, first thing I'm looking at, dividing 48 by 3, and I'm getting 16. Okay, Okay, can you do me a favor? Can you get rid of this? Put a y to the 6th up there if you could, in the radical. Okay, I forgot about that. Okay, so I take 3 minus 1. That's going to be to the 2nd. Sometimes it does end up that way. I will teach you later how to deal with that if you don't have, but for now, let's just put that right there. 6 minus 2 is going to be 4, okay? And then I'm good, okay? So I've got my radical with the 2, and we'll see what comes out. Okay, now I'm back to my big list, the square root list, and 16's here, it equals 4. So when that happens, remember 4 is now transported outside. Okay, 2 at a time. And you can do an x right there. You don't have any, so you just put x outside. You're not going to put any x's inside because you don't have any left over. 1, 2. Okay, that's 2 factors of y, so y to the 2nd outside, and you don't have any y's inside. So if the radical ends up empty, we don't need it anymore, and the answer's 4x y to the 2nd. Don't get freaked out if you're wondering, oh, I got to put something in the radical. Not really, okay? As you can see, I got rid of that. Okay, example 7, okay, same idea. First cubed root, we're going to divide 125 by 2, 125. Now you might be wondering, what would happen if that was a decimal that I divided? Well, we're going to take a look at that later, okay, but not today. X, 7 minus 2 is 5, and then on the y's, that's a 3, and that's a 1, so 3 minus 1 is 2. So I line up my radical 3. And then I look to bring things outside. The more I can get outside the radical, the better it is for me. It's kind of simpler. So now I'm on the cubed root list, and 125's in the house, okay? It equals 5. So when that guy's in the house, we bring him out there, okay? Don't put anything in there yet. You still got to do the letters. Okay, 3 at a time, so 3, okay, and remember, as soon as I get 3, it goes to the top, and then I got these 2, which I can't bring, I don't get a full grouping out of that, so just an x outside, and we will have an x to the 2nd inside, because of these 2 right here. Okay, this one here is kind of weird, y times y. And you can't get a group of 3 out of that, so you just put the radical around them, and y to the 2nd is inside. Okay. Step 3, you really have the answer right there. Okay. So 5x, and then cubed root, x second, y second. Boom. Okay, 1 and a 2 and a 3. So I make a cubed root, I divide 48 by 8, and that's going to be 8. Or yeah, 8. 48 by 6 is 8. My bad. 3 minus 2 is 1, x to the 1st, and 2 minus 1 on the y is going to be 1. So again, drop your radical 3, and we got 8. Got the cubed root, x to the 1st, got the cubed root of y to the 1st. Okay, cubed root of 8, 8's in the house, so equals 2. Remember, when that happens, the 2's out. We just won't put anything in. Okay, now x to the 1st is just x. Well, I can't make a group of 3 out of that, so that will just stay in the root. Okay, so x. Same thing with the y. Okay, y. 2, and then the cubed root of x, y. Okay. All right, now you're ready for 5 and 6. Should be pretty smooth sailing.